afternoon. I'm Father Antranig Baljian of St. Stephen's Church in Watertown. It's hard to believe that this is the last day of November and that in another month or so we will turn the page on 2020 and look forward to a new and hopefully better year to come. Aside from the pandemic and the other unprecedented and unusual occurrences of the past year, what I think is weighing most heavily on our minds is the recent tragedy of Artsakh in the ill-fated war, which took the lives of so many of our young soldiers and volunteers who gave their lives defending our very existence as a nation of Armenian Christians. As you know, Armenians and Armenia are no strangers to fighting for our lives, our homeland, and our faith. For thousands of years, the thirst for power among our neighbors and the desire to dominate us have threatened to overwhelm our lands and our people. It is true that we have recorded some of the most spectacular victories in history during many of the critical battles we have had to fight in order to ensure our survival. Yet, it is also true that we have lost many of the battles that were thought to be essential to our continued existence. But our ultimate victory in times like these was not about winning on the battlefield, but rather about survival. And we have survived. Looking back at history, we see the major defeat of the Armenian army on the plain of Avaray, which nevertheless culminated in the Treaty of Novarsad, which guaranteed Armenian religious freedom and political autonomy. In 775, Armenia was defeated by the Abbasid Caliphate at the Battle of Bakrevand. But 88 years later, at the Battle of Garasung, the Abbasids were defeated and Armenia regained its independence as a kingdom under Ashot I Bagratuni. Undoubtedly, the greatest defeat we have suffered as a nation was the Armenian genocide, whose intent was to erase any trace of Armenians from this world. But we survived to come back with a strong and loyal diaspora and eventually the independent homeland we now have in Armenia and Artsakh. Today is the feast of Saint Gennaro. It's celebrated in the Armenian Church, and also Saint Mercurius, a soldier who was martyred at the age of 25 for not renouncing his Christian faith. There is no apparent connection between these two men of faith other than that their feasts are observed on the same day and that they may have been contemporaries. They were both martyrs, and to many it may seem odd that a soldier and a man of God should be linked together at all. And yet, it's not as uncommon as you may think. Throughout much of our history, our religious leaders have supported, even fought beside our soldiers. They have served as chaplains, and in some cases, taken up arms in defense of faith and fatherland. If we truly wish to turn this recent defeat into an ultimate victory, a goal which our history has proven is not impossible, then each of us must also take up the cause of defending our homeland, our history, our faith, and our rich cultural heritage. This call to battle is specifically for us, you and me, religious and lay, women and men, old and young, to take up arms as best we can to ensure our ultimate victory, our continued survival as Armenian Christians. I am not saying we all have to get on a plane, travel overseas, and fight this battle physically, but rather that we use the weapons that God has put at our disposal. First in our arsenal is money. Our people need our financial help to overcome the devastating consequences of this war in terms of human suffering and loss for the widows, for the orphans, for the wounded warriors. To those who ask, how much must I give? The answer is, give until it hurts, then continue giving until it feels good. Our second weapon is our total commitment to help through political activism in support of our brothers and sisters in Armenia and Artsakh by joining in vigils, protests, and political lobbying activities. We have a voice, a strong voice. Let's use it. The last and most powerful weapon in our arsenal is our nuclear option, prayer. It is through the fervent and sincere prayers that we offer to God that brings the desires and needs of our inner heart to his attention. And whether you believe it or not, God hears and answers the prayer of his children. No one knew this more than David, the slayer of Goliath and the shepherd boy become king, who in Psalm 20 verses 6 to 8 assures us that trusting in God will give us our ultimate victory. He wrote, I know God gives me all that I ask for and brings victory to his anointed king. My deliverance cry will be heard in his holy heaven. By his mighty hand, miracles will manifest through his saving strength. Some find their strength in their weapons and wisdom, but my miracle deliverance can never be won by men. Our boast is in the Lord our God, who makes us strong and gives us victory. Our enemies will not prevail. They will only collapse and perish in defeat, while we will rise up full of courage. May Almighty God hear our prayer and grant us the ultimate victory of our faith. Amen.